Hey you guys, today's video we are continuing our conversation about fibroids, and I want to give you a lot of inspiration and content and ideas and knowledge on what you can do to really shrink your fibroids, which is completely doable. One of actually my favorite topics is especially those conditions that we've had really great results in a hormones balance community in women shrinking their fibroids very effectively using some of the solutions that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So the whole day today, we are talking about fibroids. This morning, I was showing you a demo on how to do uterine packs. It's something that you put on the uterus where the fibroids typically are to resolve them using castor oil and magnesium. And then just this early afternoon, I did an interview with Dr. Marisol Tejero. We had a huge engagement from you guys on castor oil. Castor oil is always an interesting topic for the hormones balance community, partly because they really generate incredible results, and she's developed a pack that really helps. So look at that video and all of that content. If you missed some of our videos and interviews in the past, you can find all of that on overcomingestrogendominance.com/events. We are posting all the videos there. Typically give us like a day or so, 24 hours to post the video there. So today, what I would like to do is I'm going to be reading a chapter from my new book, Overcoming Estrogen Dominance. And it is chapter 9, which is on page 160, that specifically covers the fibroid protocol and what you can do to shrink your fibroids. So why don't I get started? And then one of the things that we are doing a book giveaway. So on today's call, for those of you who are tuning in live, we're gonna give the book away to one of you. And the way we're gonna do it is that I'm gonna ask a question sometime towards the end of the video, and that question is gonna be related to the book, what I'm reading in today's session. And whoever gets it right will get a copy of the book. I'll send over to you. My team is gonna contact you who the winner is and get your address and all the good stuff. All right, so let's get started. And then once I finish reading of the chapter, then we're gonna do open Q&As and preferably about fibroids and estrogen dominance. Uterine fibroids are most frequent type of benign tumor found in women and a common challenge for many. Western conventional medicine isn't very well prepared to shrink them in non-invasive and lasting ways. Understanding the presence of fibroids is early information for women that they might be experiencing estrogen dominance. And although fibroids are benign, they can lead to other more serious health issues, such as estrogenic cancers. In most cases, fibroids do not cause any symptoms. You may not even know that you have them. But in others, they may lead to a wide range of issues, from heavy bleeding to severe cramps to low back pain and chronic vaginal discharge. The great news is it is completely possible to shrink them naturally. Key facts. Uterine fibroids, also known as uterine leiomyomas and myomas, are benign lumps and growth in and around the uterus, the endometrium. They are made of muscle and connective tissue. There are several types of fibroids classified by their location, which include intramural. The most common type of fibroid is embedded in a muscle of the uterus. Submucosal, and these grow right underneath the mucous membrane that lines the uterus and the endometrium. And then you have those ones that they call subserosal, which these grow on the outside of the uterus, which are closer to the skin, and you may be able to feel them. They are slow growing. Fibroids can grow for as long as 10 years before making their presence known. Each fibroid is unique, with varying shape, texture, and sizes. They are usually round in shape. They can be soft and rock hard to the touch. They can range in size from seedlings, undetectable by naked eye, to as big as a pebble or even larger than a grapefruit. Fibroids may appear alone, but are often found in groups. They are most common in women ages 40 to 44. This is not surprising because it is when our progesterone starts dropping and estrogen dominance becomes more likely. Fibroids develop when estrogen levels are higher. Studies on the occurrence of fibroids show the following statistics. 20 to 40% of women aged 35 40% over age 40, and 70% of women and 80% of Black women by age 50. That's basically makes a majority of us. Many women will not experience symptoms. It is estimated that 50 to 80% of women have no symptoms whatsoever and have no idea they even have a fibroid. If fibroids don't shrink by menopause or are growing fast, they may become malignant. This is why I advocate for proactively addressing fibroids rather than adopt the wait and see attitude. So what are some of the symptoms of fibroids? Increased menstrual bleeding, anemia, and that's more the result of the heavy bleeding, abdominal bloating, pressure and discomfort, back pain, excessive vaginal discharge, pain or bleeding after intercourse, irritation to the bladder, more frequent urination, infertility, subfertility, and premature delivery. Diagnosis. It's important to get a proper diagnosis to rule out any form of ovarian tumor, abscesses in the fallopian tubes, endometriosis, or any adhesions to the pelvis. Fibroids are often found during a routine pelvic exam, but other diagnostic tests can also be used, such as ultrasound, MRI, hysteroscopy, and laparoscopy. And so hysteroscopy examines the interior of the uterus, and laparoscopy does the external part of the uterus. Causes. Estrogen dominance. Fibroids have a large number of estrogen receptors, and excess estrogen promotes the growth of fibroid tissue. A high level of dirty estrogens and exposure to xenoestrogens from your personal skincare, house products, which add more excess estrogen to fuel endometrial tissue growth. Progesterone deficiency. Remember, without enough progesterone to balance out estrogen, we have the unbalanced partner situation. One of the things I talked about in my first videos is the different types of estrogen dominance, and this is so one of them is called the unbalanced partner, so estrogen progesterone ratio. Hypothyroidism, often present in fibroids. Low thyroid function goes hand in hand with estrogen dominance. And then we have high levels of IGF-1, which is the growth hormone, due to high blood sugar levels. Melatonin deficiency, excess body fat. So body fat, especially belly fat, produces estrogen. So overweight women are at a higher risk of estrogen dominance and developing fibroids. There is also some evidence linking fibroids to root canals. So some of the traditional treatments that you may have come across is the traditional wait and see, right? Especially if you're asymptomatic. Then we have the gonadotropin releasing hormone agonist, which is sold under the brand name of Leuprolide. For example, it suppresses basically the production of estrogen and promotes progesterone production to slow the growth of fibroids. But these drugs with others in the market have many side effects and don't treat the root cause. Symptoms will return when you stop taking the drug. The other one is myomectomy, which is a surgical procedure to remove the fibroid. And I'm sure many of you here have either had it or you've heard of it. Endometrial ablation, so it's a procedure that destroys the lining of the uterus. Uterine artery embolization, also known as UAE, is a minimally invasive procedure that shrinks the fibroid by cutting off the blood supply to it. And of course, then we also have hysterectomy, which is a surgical procedure to remove the uterus and all the attached fibroids. So that's pretty extreme, but it happens especially if the fibroid is pretty sizable. The problem with all these approaches is they don't address the root cause of the problem, estrogen dominance. Worse still, if left unaddressed, estrogen dominance can manifest in other conditions such as thyroid nodules, fibrocystic breast, and estrogenic cancers. That's why the best approach is to treat estrogen dominance and fibroids proactively. I've seen time and time again how much fibroids can shrink, and we can address the estrogen-related imbalances. So what is the fibroid add-on protocol? And the reason why I've structured the book in a way that I call this the add-on protocol. So like the protocol I'm reading right now, that's an add-on protocol. And the reason why I'm calling it an add-on is because we are adding that onto something else, right? And that something else is called the Estrogen Reset Foundation. The Estrogen Reset Foundation is what you follow as a first step is a 28-day protocol that allows you to, pretty easy to do, because guess what? We have all the recipes for you that we've developed. So you got recipes and meal plans to follow. And within the 28 days, this is where you take care of you releasing a lot of the toxins through the liver. You're helping you purifying, detoxifying the liver. That's where all that estrogen detoxification happens. You're also supporting your gut health in a wonderful way by bringing the inflammation down, by avoiding a lot of inflammatory foods. And then you balance your blood sugar levels. And all of that might sound like it's a lot of work, but actually when you follow our protocols, it's all built into one protocol. So you don't really have to think about it. When you eat those meals that we have on the meal plan in the recipes, it's like they already heal your gut, they detox your liver, and they stabilize your blood sugar levels all at the same time. So you don't have to think about that. So the reason why I call it an add-on protocol is because you're adding that on if the foundation hasn't worked fully. Or you can pick a couple of things from here to add, like, for example, castor oil packs is a wonderful addition, but I would highly encourage you to jump in, head down first, and do your nutritional protocol first. Always start off with the food. That's the biggest thing you put in your body. It is going to be the biggest needle mover for you as well. So what is the fibroid add-on protocol? Step 1, do the 28-day estrogen reset foundation protocol, including the foundational supplements. See part 4 for everything you need to do it successfully. After doing the foundation protocol, you may not even need to implement step 2. But if you feel like you've mastered it and you need to go deeper to address your fibroids, read on. Step 2, implement the fibroid protocol. There are many proven tools in the section that may help you, and it might get intimidating. Implement what you can. Some things may help and others wouldn't. We're all different and we respond to changes in different ways. Add serrapeptase. So this proteolytic enzyme, meaning it breaks down protein into smaller components, dissolves fibroid tissue. It's also a highly inflammatory enzyme. If you have heavy periods because of fibroids, add extra iron to your diet. This may come from foods such as liver, seafood, black strip molasses, and non-constipating iron supplements. In the supplement guide on page 361, I cover my favorite brands. Lower inflammation. Inflammation is a common companion in women with fibroids. An anti-inflammatory diet detailed in chapters 10 and 11, and supplements which target inflammation, such as those containing curcumin, boswellia, and omega-3 can help a great deal. Take 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flaxseed per day. Even though flaxseed contains phytoestrogens and can be estrogenic, they are not bad for you. Flaxseed promotes the breakdown of estrogens into clean estrogens and not the damaging dirty estrogens. Try castor oil packs to support liver detoxification, clear out dirty estrogens, and reduce inflammation. If you haven't already tried castor oil packs, now is a good time to begin. For more on that benefit and how to apply packs, see page 150 or watch our videos from earlier today. I've also created a recipe for you called the uterine oil pack on page 352 that combines castor oil with magnesium oil, a powerful topical application for your uterus and fibroids. Implement herbal strategies. Work with a local herbalist to create an herbal formula that combines several different strategies, supporting the liver, boosting progesterone, and constricting blood flow to the fibroids. These herbs support the following strategies. Cholagogues, which are liver detoxifiers to promote the flow of bile from liver and binding up dirty estrogens. And those would be dandelion root, burdock root, gentian, and endographis. Hormone modulators to rebuild your progesterone levels, chasteberry and black cohosh. Uterine astringents to cut off the blood supply, which is just a short-term strategy, right? Yarrow, cinnamon, cranesbill, red raspberry. Uterine tonics, herbs to promote overall balance of the uterus, blue cohosh, motherwort, and red raspberry leaf. Consider acupuncture. Some women have reported amazing results with acupuncture, including less pain. And overall, I'm a big fan of acupuncture in a way to promote balance in the body. And then the other two segments talk about Dutch testing and saliva testing, which we've been talking about this a couple of days ago with Dr. Chantasson. We've covered testing there as well. So you can take a look at that. So yeah, so my question for you guys on is going to be for the book giveaway is going to be, give me an example of one herb that there is a uterine astringent. It stops the flow of blood to the uterus itself. One, if you remember more, then you can do more. I just want to hear at least one of them. Suzanne is saying homeopathy shrank my fibroids. Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's great. There's, I think, different. So Lara Allen is saying chaseberry. No, so chaseberry is more of a progesterone builder. We're talking about astringents, right? And yeah, so many of you are getting it right. So one of the herbs is yarrow, and that is correct. Okay, so especially those ones at the beginning who are yohimbe, Arina is saying. Yohimbe is has got actually a lot of testosterone in it, so it would actually not help in this case because testosterone will convert to estrogens. Cerezymes are enzymes that will break down the tissue of the fibroid, but wouldn't restrict the blood flow. So I want to give you an example of how powerful herbs can be, and when it comes to restricting blood flow or bringing blood flow into the uterus. I have personally never had like super heavy periods, so actually I can let me give you another example. How powerful something can be as an astringent. So last summer I went to a summer camp, and it was a botanical summer camp, and with a whole bunch of herbalists, and for 2 weeks we were roaming around Colorado with a botanist and 2 herbalists. It was a fabulous experience, and we were by the river and making some infusions. And I was talking to someone while cutting up the plant material. And I looked at her, and I ended up cutting off the tip of my finger with very sharp scissors. And needless to say, blood everywhere. There was somebody who fainted because she couldn't look at blood. And so I immediately, put pressure on, put my hand up, right? Because you always want to, if you have a wound, you always want to put it above your heart, so that way you restrict the blood flow. But I can't be walking around like this, right, for a few days. So what happened was so one of the instructors grabbed some yarrow, and she gave it to me, got me to chew it into creating a poultice, right? So it's like basically a mush. and then I spread it on my finger. Then she took a leaf, she created a temporary bandage, and put a twine around it, and I was just holding it. And a few amazing things all happened at the same time. That yarrow not only did it reduce my pain by 70-80%, like right away within 10 minutes, it was significantly less painful. Not only was it antibacterial, antiviral, antibacterial for sure, microbial in general, so much so that I never actually went to a traditional antimicrobial cream, even though I had it in my first aid kit. I just basically used yarrow throughout the whole time as my bandage. I also added a little bit of plantain later on to recover the skin, but for rejuvenation of the skin. But other than that, it was all yarrow. But more importantly, the minute the yarrow touched my skin and the blood stopped flowing. And, when literally within a couple of hours, I could function again, and I could do stuff with my hands. And of course, I couldn't put like a lot of pressure on it and like grabbing things and stuff like that, but I was fully functional. And so it was I think it's one thing to learn about herbs from books. It's another thing, especially when it happens to you and it's pretty traumatic. And, I felt pretty queasy because the amount of blood, I was like, literally blood just flew down my hand, and it was pretty traumatic. But it's a different story when you actually experience it firsthand like that. So yarrow would have the same way of rebalancing, and it would not restrict blood flow, for example, to places where it doesn't need to restrict it. And that's one of the incredible things about herbs, that it's not going to restrict blood flow to your heart. It's not going to restrict blood flow to your skin and make you aged or whatever, right? It just restricts it when and regulates it where it should regulate. That's one of the incredible things I find about herbs. What part of the yarrow was used? So that's a good question, Alex. And the answer is you can use both flowers as well as the leaves. So yeah, both of them have the same efficacy. And so for the purpose of fibroids, you basically, all you have to do is just infuse it into a tea, and you can use it with a few other herbs that I mentioned. Red raspberry, you can put some Vitex as well. And red raspberry is one of the astringents as well, red raspberry leaf. When you drink red raspberry tea, you will feel it's a bit like black tea when it's slightly astringent, although I find that yarrow is a lot more astringent than that. And then don't forget your herbal. That's why I think working with a skilled herbalist, is really important, because this is where the person understands that fibroids is not just fibroids, the issue. It's also your whole estrogen dominance and how your body metabolizes estrogen within itself, right? That it needs some support. And that's why your liver, your cholagogues, those herbs that stimulate bile flow and detoxify your liver, dandelion root, burdock root, ginseng, endographis are amazing. By the way, who here has tried our digestive bitters? So our digestive bitters do contain, we have a burdock root, we also have endographis in our digestive bitters. And so that's part of the reason why I put them in there, is because these bitters, we develop them specifically for women with hormonal imbalances. So, okay, so it looks like it's a little bit quieter session today. And for those of you who are coming new to this, my new book is out, Overcoming Estrogen Dominance. We've been doing something special for you guys during the time of the launch, and hopefully beyond that as well, where we have a special gift card for you. So if you order the book on overcomingestrogendominance.com, we will, and then come back to this website, enter your your receipt number, and we'll send you the gift card code so you can use it for yeah, so you can just use it towards whatever you like. Questions about bitters. So Heather is saying, I've just looked at your bitters. Yeah, they are they're pretty cool. I might be biased because I've developed them. And Jennifer, thank you, Jennifer, for your support. Can men use bitters? Absolutely, sure, why not? Hey, you guys, everything that I teach in this book here as well, your partners, your husbands can totally do this. In fact, something I don't talk often enough is that estrogen dominance in men manifests in the form of prostate problems. So swelling of the prostate, right? And then prostate cancer is actually estrogenic cancer. Also, men who develop man boobs, it's an estrogenic sign, believe it or not. Especially men who drink a lot of beer. Beer drinkers develop, man boobs, and they can get breast cancer too, which is an interesting one. So, yeah. Can postmenopausal women have fibroids? So, Michelle, I don't know whether you were here when I was reading this section in the book that said that if a woman has got low levels of estrogen and is still having fibroids, is to go and get it checked out, because typically it's a younger woman who have it because of excess estrogen or high levels of estrogen. If a woman is menopause and still has fibroids, it's worthwhile checking it out just to rule out that this is there is no malignant tissue in there. Mandy saying, how do you find a good acupuncturist, and there is any specific method you should use to reduce fibroids? I mean, I don't know. I mean, you should just look around your neighborhood and ask around and look at the reviews, I suppose. We have a question about they're supposed to shrink because of low estrogen postmenopause. Yeah, Tracy is absolutely correct. This is a question here. I'm just gonna post this one here. Michelle is saying, is the book only for those who have periods? Absolutely not. So Michelle, the book, let me just look at some of the chapters and just to show you. So the book is for women with fibroids, endometriosis, fibrocystic and lumpy breast, which a lot of women in perimenopause and menopause and postmenopause experience. Hot flashes, which is certainly not a women with periods only issue. We also have for thyroid nodules and cellulite and hip fat, breast cancer. So those are a lot of protocols that are not just for women with periods. Absolutely not. In fact, majority of our community are women 45 to 65. So we create content for you guys in that way and really look at what the needs are. And most women are actually past their period problems. Can you comment on when to take fiber support, with or without food? That's a great question. So it's better to do it without food. And that way they work a lot more effectively. Then the enzymes really have the time to be absorbed and work locally. So enzymes are an interesting animal because enzymes, when taken with food, they work more in the digestion. When they take it on an empty stomach, they work systemically then in the body. So there is some questions on, do we have questions on FibroKit? Is that what was that question on FibroKit? So you guys, so we have I covered it in the supplements this morning. We have a fibroid support kit called FibroKit, and it contains a couple of things in there. And one of it, actually, let me just see whether I have this open so I can just quickly bring this on. Because I did have it this morning. So there we go. Okay, it's right here. So FibroKit is this one here. You go to wellena.com and then look at the kits, and the FibroKit is there. And it contains 3 things. It contains fiber support. So those are the 2 enzymes that I talked about. They have a specific efficacy. One is made from nettle. They chomp down the fiber tissue is really quite amazing. And if you look at the reviews, we got some really nice, strong reviews. And then it also comes with, with DIM and sulforaphane. And the reason why we put DIM and sulforaphane there is because both of them really help you to detoxify you of estrogens. DIM works on phase 1 liver detoxification. Broco Power works on phase 2 liver detoxification. So both of them give you a complete liver detox when it comes to estrogen. So if you're magnesium deficient, I also suggest to add magnesium to beyond this kit as well. We have a couple of magnesiums in our store that I really recommend. Mag Energy is a magnesium malate form. It's great in the mornings, gives you great sense of energy. And then we have magnesium glycinate, which is also known as magnesium replenish. That's our brand name. And that's the kind of magnesium that really helps you replenish magnesium really quickly. How do you know you're magnesium deficient? It's really quite simple. You crave chocolate, you've got a lot of body pains and aches, especially at night, you start getting cramps. You are chronically constipated, although constipation can be due to a lot of other reasons, but that's one of them. If you are having heart palpitations and a lot of arrhythmia even, if you are experiencing, there's just so many things like restless leg syndrome, if you're not sleeping very well, waking up in the middle of the night or can't fall asleep, I mean, they could all be signs of low magnesium. So then adding some magnesium to it would really help as well. Is it a concern if you haven't changed your diet? But for the past year, my stomach talks all day long and never has before. I just started cycling this week to wonder if estrogen dominance is causing the talking stomach. I don't think so. If anything, is the stomach issues that cause estrogen dominance, not the other way around. And then the talking, when you say talking, you're talking about a lot of growling that's going on. You have grumbling going on, because if that is the case, then it's worthwhile to do. Jennifer, you might want to go to my blog, hormonesbalance.com, and take a look at low stomach acid and see whether that's one of the issues that you might have. Oh, thank you, Alex. Thank you for all the information. Cheers. What is the recommended amount of broccoli sprouts to eat per day to equal Broco Power's capsule? Yeah. So this is it's a little bit of surprise and a disappointment for me, actually. So first of all, whatever I'm gonna say right now, you must not stop eating broccoli sprouts. Okay, that's the first thing. The issue with broccoli sprouts is that when we were formulating our Broco Power, and we were looking at some studies, the sad thing is that, unfortunately, the amount of sulforaphane that's found in broccoli sprouts can vary between being very minimal to being very high and adequate. And I wish that I could tell you that organic ones from farmers market or from this source are great. And if you go to Walmart, they are not good, right? It doesn't exist that way. It doesn't work that way. Even organic versus non-organic, that was irrelevant in that study. And this is an independent study. This is not from our manufacturer or the raw material producer. It's a completely independent study. And so for that reason, it's just to rely on broccoli, like especially for example, for somebody who is dealing with breast cancer, is recovering from breast cancer, is preventing breast cancer, right? Is to rely on broccoli sprouts alone for a dose of sulforaphane. It's tricky, and I cannot answer that question because of the such a varied content of it. If somebody is really treating very seriously their estrogen dominance, especially with cases like cancers, then I suggest do get a supplement that has a standardized sulforaphane. Standardized means that it's like 6%, 7% standardized, 8% standardized. And so that way it's been tested and it's guaranteeing you an X amount of sulforaphane in a pill. And then, ours, for example, also contains a couple of other things, including enzymes that really help with the absorption. So we use mustard seeds and also vitamin C because research shows a higher bioavailability and absorption of sulforaphane in the presence of vitamin C. So this is just a long answer. How long does it take for the enzymes to work on fibroids? Can we move on to the next one, Taylor? How long does it take for the enzymes to work on the fibroids? Lily is saying, so Lily, I've seen everything from, literally a month, like a woman going, seeing her doctor and getting a sonogram, and it's like a significant reduction already. But I would say, if you can combine it with a good anti-inflammatory diet, combine it with our supplements, combine it with a castor oil packs, and give yourself 3 months, depends again what the size of your fibroid is, and give yourself 3 months overall, I think you should be in a really good place. Okay, so it looks like we've got a lot of things covered today. And how is it going for you guys so far? Like, we've been doing these calls for a while, these videos, and they're gonna live in one page, and so you can always go back to those and revisit them and relive them. But I'm wondering, what are some of the big takeaways you're getting it from here? I think, let me rephrase that question. I think what I really want to know is that what have you learned here through these videos, maybe for those of you who got the book already, what are you going to implement first? What are the things you're going to be implementing in your daily life? I would love to know that. And one thing I want to share with you. Many years ago, I got certified as a professional life coach, and part of the reason why I did it was because I wanted to really understand what are the blocks and what makes women make a change, and why do we not make a change even though we know it's good for us, and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I've also learned, and this is a tool from my life coaching years, is that when you get this book, right, there is quite a bit of content in here. I mean, after all, this is like a decade of my work. And if you're new to this, estrogen dominance has been a big part of my story. And one of my biggest fears in my life is to develop breast cancer. And so I've really done everything in my life I could not to go down that path. And that's been the story of both of my family members on both sides of the family. So, and so there's a lot of information in here given. And so I'm not expecting all of you to be following every single one of them, right? So it's natural for us to, I think, prioritize and say, you know what, I'm going to start off here, and I'm going to maybe give it a month, and then I'm going to look at the next chapter and the next chapter and all of that. That's perfectly normal. The one thing I would like you to tune into is just observing yourself, how you pick what you want to do. And sometimes what I have realized, and I've seen this with women, and I've seen this with myself, is that oftentimes the change that we need the most is the change that we are most resistant to. Okay, I'll repeat this again. Can we just remove that comment for now? Thank you. The change that you need the most is the change that you resist the most. Okay, So for example, if making maybe like giving up gluten and dairy is something, you'd be like, I'm just gonna wait for another 2 months. I'll build up to it, right? And you're like, and you're pushing it away instead of, even though in the book I say here, this is really important for you to do that first, right? But you're pushing it away. And rather you go the supplement route and you get castor oils on it and stuff like that, right? Now ask yourself, is that really not important, or is it because you're just, for whatever reason, it's like a block you're creating for really healing? And one of the things I've noticed, especially with women, is that there's a lot of emotional component that comes with changing a diet, right? And so, whether it's sometimes lack of love, some kind of self-punishment, some kind of a sense of not deserving to feel better. And in some ways, it's like we almost fail to prove to ourselves that this is going to happen anyway, And so a lot of it is very subconscious. So I'm not saying this here to offend you in any way or to, bring up some ugly side of things. But I just want to put it out there that, it can be sometimes very emotional. And then asking yourself the question, why am I pushing that important change? Magdalena says in the book here, that making this change is one of the fundamental things, but yet I'm pushing that away as something not important. Just ask yourself, why are you doing that? Okay. All right, let's take 1 or 2 more questions, and then we're going to wrap up for the night. I'm just going to share this comment from Diana. Oh yeah, there we go. You picked it as well. Diana is saying, you have made me aware of estrogen dominance, which is a contributing factor to my condition. So thank you for that. Just wish I could purchase from the UK. No can do at the moment. Diana, so you can actually purchase the book. It's just the shipping is expensive. It's we're just getting the rates from FedEx and passing it on. The problem with this book is it is a 3-pound book. And so it's heavy. And so the shipping tends to be on the high side. But, it's like, I think it's $32 to ship it to the UK, at least to London. And we're not making any money on that. We're just passing on the cost to you. So you can just go to overcomingestrogendominance.com and choose international shipping or international purchase, and you can totally get it. And hey, you guys, I get it. I lived in China, and I know that when I lived in China, I knew that whatever I was getting from the United States, I was going to pay more for shipping than I was going to pay for the book. But if your health is important to you, and I can tell you right now, there is no other book on estrogen dominance right now, as far as I know. And so, if that's important to you, then, what is $32 for shipping when you can change so much in your life? Can you share when to take the different supplements during the day? What can be taken together? That's a very loaded question. So I'm going to do, it's just like there's a lot of information in here. And I'm going to do a separate call on supplements alone sometime next week. And then we're going to talk about the when to take different supplements, what's in the morning, what's necessary, what's optional, how to know which one you might be a good idea to take and stuff like that. So stay tuned for that. Is there a connection between cortisol and estrogen dominance? I've been on long-term prednisone. Does being on prednisone impact my approach to the protocol? So, so Stephanie, I would say first thing is, if you really need to be on prednisone, I'm just curious, is that for allergies? Is that what you're taking this for? So, one of the things that asthma, sorry, that just reminded me of someone for asthma. So one of the things that to consider is when you're taking long-term steroids like that, is there's always going to be an impact, right? And I don't think any of these protocols that I'm teaching here, changing your diet, adding supplements, is going to interfere with prednisone itself. I would encourage you, in tandem to making changes, to find a functional practitioner who can help you get off prednisone and basically heal your body in the most natural ways. Okay, that would be also something I recommend. Paula is saying, I think I may have been experiencing estrogen dominance for a while now without knowing, including finding fibroids a few years ago. Recent symptoms may have really had become really concerning with new onset of migraines with aura, dizziness, and dipping TSH values. I've learned through these talks that estrogen can compromise hormone receptors and may be the reason behind some of this. So grateful for your work. I'm in the process of making some dietary changes. Then that's awesome, Paula. That's really wonderful. And one thing I'll say about what you mentioned there is, let me just pull out something. There's a big connection between thyroid and estrogen as well. So just to let you know, so when you correct your estrogen dominance, your thyroid is gonna start feeling better as well. So that's awesome. There was also somebody who asked, the earlier question from the person was, whether high cortisol levels will influence estrogen dominance? And the answer is yes. It's a really good question. So cortisol is a stress hormone, right? But it's also released to balance your blood sugar levels, increase your blood pressure, as well as it works as an anti-inflammatory to bring inflammation down in the body, but also to help you deal with stress. One of the things that cortisol does in order to be produced is, so let me just go back a little bit, step further, so step up. So there is a hormone called pregnenolone, and from pregnenolone, imagine there's two hormones that are being produced. One is cortisol, okay? The other one is progesterone. So when you are very stressed out and your cortisol now needs to increase to deal with stress, and you're only producing so much of pregnenolone, that pregnenolone is going to be stolen away from progesterone. So suddenly from producing normal levels of progesterone, your progesterone is going to drop because it has to convert more to cortisol. The body's asking for it, right? And your cortisol is like your survival hormone. Progesterone is your reproduction hormone. You can live without it technically, right? Just don't feel very good. So if you remember me talking about in our initial videos that there's different types of estrogen dominance, and one of them is called the unbalanced partners, is when the estrogen progesterone ratio is off. And typically is that there's too much of estrogen and too little progesterone. So yes, so in other words, stress can certainly contribute in a very negative way towards making estrogen dominance a lot more worse. Okay, I'll do one more questions before we wrap up. Can we do the antihistamines one? I think that's a really interesting one. Lara is asking, does taking antihistamines impact estrogen dominance, Claritin, Zyrtec, etc.? I've taken them for years and can't help but wonder if they have contributed. So first of all, there is a big relationship between histamine and estrogen dominance. And I talk about that in the book as well here, that when you're histamine intolerant, you drive up estrogen, but it's the other way around as well, that estrogen dominance also increases histamine release. So they're both correlated in a huge way. Lara, I will say histamine is a huge topic, and I want to recommend two websites if you're dealing with histamine problems to really help you get off all the antihistamines. And so if you haven't done that already, one is healinghistamine.com. and the other one is mastcell360.com. Okay, those two are wonderful resources to really help you understand how to bring inflammation down, how to eat, and stuff like that. And they are not dogmatic; they are not overly restrictive, and they also focus not just removing a whole bunch of foods. They do that a little bit as well, but also how to bring in a lot of foods that naturally bring the histamine levels down in the body, which is really amazing. And one of which is thyme. That's I always laugh about this because one of my closest friends, Yasmina, who is the founder of healinghistamine.com, passed away 2.5 years ago. It was one of the probably most painful experiences of my life. And one of the things I always, every time I sprinkle thyme, the herb thyme, on my food, I always think about her. Although I don't particularly like thyme, I've learned to like it. I didn't really like it before. But she always made me do it because she was convinced I had histamine problems. So, which was partly true. I was just in denial about that. Anyway, I hope this is helpful. Hey, you guys, I hope this call was helpful today. You feel empowered and inspired to really take action and do something about your fibroids. Like I said in my reading earlier, doing hysterectomy, myomectomy, those are all very temporary solutions. They don't address the root cause of a problem. I've seen many women who do have a procedure, and after that, they it's gone, but then it comes back after 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, or they start having problems with their breast, they develop thyroid nodules, and then worse things, there's a lot of other worse things that can happen with estrogen dominance, including estrogen and cancers. And so, to me, fibroids is just a signal your body is saying to you, I need your help. I need you to do something about it. So I hope with this knowledge today, you're inspired and motivated to do something, and just get to work. All right, you guys, tomorrow we're going to be talking about thyroid, hypothyroidism, thyroid nodules, and Hashimoto's disease and its connection to estrogen. So super excited about that one. It's a very personal topic for me as well, because my whole journey with health started with Hashimoto's disease in 2008. So it's been quite the ride. All right, thanks everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow.